right, welcome into the fourth floor, an extension of 5 on the Floor here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm coming to you from beautiful South Florida. That's why Greg's in his house right now, because he can't go outside because he doesn't live in Miami. Our sponsors, Biscayne Bay Brewing. Make sure that, of course, you ask for it by name. I just did it here at Quarterdeck. Make sure you ask for it, whether you're at a restaurant, whether you're at Publix, whether you're at Whole Foods. It's the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, also of the Miami Marlins. They've also got the Brew House at Marlins Park or Lone Depot Stadium or whatever. And then also they have a little stand outside of 124 at the Heat Arena. We'll see how many home playoff games the Heat are going to play. A lot of that will be determined by today. Also sponsored by our friends over at A Aggressive Insurance. That's insurancebyLynette.com. Again, insurancebyLynette.com. That's 2 N's, 2 T's, 954-581-8800, 954-581-8800. Help you with all kinds of different insurance, talk Heat with you. And also, if you have a bad driving record, she's the person to go to. So make sure you reach out to Lynette, 954-581-8800. All right, let's get to the news of the day here. I'll scoop you, Brady, although I know you threw it out there of us on Twitter. No Jaylen Brown. Andre Iguodala is playing. Victor Oladipo, I'm not really sure he's with the team anymore, so we won't really concern ourselves with that. But the significance of Jaylen Brown not playing, I'll go to you first on this, Brady, actually. What do they do? Who plays? Who's been playing without him?
Yeah, even looking back, not to compare it to last season's team, which Spoelstra talked about, but what killed Miami was Jaylen Brown a lot of the time when they had that second creator. Eliminating that second creator, forcing Kemba Walker to be the guy that's going to try and kill you. You live with that even if they throw Trevor Ariza on him, which they feel very comfortable throwing, Trevor Ariza on opposing point guards. They can do that, and it just eliminates a lot of the versatility that Boston brings offensively. Doesn't matter really who you throw on Tatum. You'll see a lot of Bam, you'll see a lot of Jimmy, but he's just such a dynamic scorer that he's going to score the basketball. But not having that second guy really can help Miami, and it's going to come down to them they're going to be blitzing Jason Tatum a lot, so it's just going to come down to them getting those defensive offense opportunities and running in transition off the jump.
All right, so Greg, who's the random scrub heat killer today?
I'm going to go with Luke Cornett. That sounds good to me. He played 10 minutes last game, so I would imagine that sounds like a perfect name. But, this is a game where ever since Jaylen Brown went out, the Celtics have played even smaller than they were playing before, and that is something I actually think Spoelstra is he's all about that kind of game. So, they got Jabari Parker off the bench, Grant Williams, some guys like that, but they're playing a lot more wings. So maybe Dwayne Dedmon ends up punishing some folks today.
Yeah, I put this on Twitter. I'll go to you on this one, Ariel. I put this on Twitter today, and I was a little surprised that it's running 50-50 exactly at a pretty high volume of votes. So it appears that they have enough guards now that can play down the stretch of games, whether Hero gets back in that role, whether Dragic at times, whether none, etc., that really there's only going to be room for one between Iguodala and Ariza on a consistent basis down the stretch. So I'll ask you right now, at this moment, which of the mid-30-somethings do you trust more in clutch time?
I mean, definitely Trevor Ariza. I mean, he's looked substantially better. Iguodala, I think, probably the amount to which the Heat have used him throughout the season has probably been more than they wanted to going into the season. And so I think he's looked a little bit like he's been spread a little too thin over the course of the season. Trevor Ariza, since he's been with the Heat, with every game, it seems like he's getting his legs under him more. He's been better since they've acquired him. I trust his defense. I like his point of attack defense. I love his switchability. So I think he's a better fit at the moment. I think it would probably behoove the Heat to, kind of slow down the usage on Iguodala. And if you need him in the playoffs, you ramp up the minutes and then use him there. But I mean, you've got Trevor Ariza, you've got Dwayne Dedmon off the bench. You can even move Jimmy to the 4 in small stretches if you need to. So I don't really see the need to play Andre Iguodala as much as before, given that you've got Trevor Ariza and those other options available to you.
A lot of disagrees with you, by the way, the First Lady of Heat Twitter. So
Nothing
you'll have to take it up with her later. By the way, lots of comments coming in. We'll post them up there if you definitely want us to read them. Unless you're Alana, hit us with that super chat thing. Jonathan, I'm going to give you 2 stat lines for Bam Adebayo today. Okay, 2 stat lines. You're going to pick one of the 2 of them. Okay, 17, 11, and 6. 17, 11, and 6. or 25, 7, and 3? You tell me.
I'm gonna go with A. I think that's the more likely outcome. I think that's more of the unselfish Bam that we're gonna see, right? That's the Bam that's moving the ball around, that's looking for players at the top of the key. I think that's the Bam we see today, is an aggressive Bam, but an all-around Bam.
Anybody disagree with him?
Strongly.
Okay, go ahead. Ariel, go ahead.
I mean, Bam averaged 22, 11, 5, a steal and a half, a block, 61% from the field against the Celtics in the playoffs last year. Their big man room is definitely not their strength. I don't know if Robert Williams is playing. Brady, do you know if does anybody know?
Yeah, he's playing.
Probably,
okay, well, look, he's improved. He's a solid defensive player around the rim. He can switch and do a bunch of stuff. But frankly, if Bam decides to be aggressive, there's nobody on that roster who should be able to bother him. He should be able to get whatever he wants. And I would expect that his stat line against Boston in this 2-game series would resemble more closely the stat line that he had against them in the playoffs. Like I said, 22, 11, and 5 on 61% from the field.
And to add to that, I also think I think this feels like a 25-point Bam game. There's something about certain players he plays that he kind of, elevates in the scoring column, past college teammates, certain guys he goes up against. And Jason Tatum's one of those guys. He talks about the relationship he has. He calls Tatum's mom a second mother. There's a certain, competition there, him wearing the shirt, Greg's wearing right now up to the plane. That all plays a factor. And I just feel like this is a game where Bam kind of steps up and really goes into the scoring column more than other areas.
All right, so I'll cycle back to you here, Jonathan. Okay? Down the stretch of a game tonight, who do you trust more, Tyler Hero or Kendrick Nunn?
Kendrick
Nunn.
Nunn.
We saw what Tyler did against Boston last year.
Yeah,
but
just
did in the last game. Who are you taking?
I'm still taking Kendrick Nunn. I mean, from what we've seen recently, I believe he's still the more steady player. When Kendrick Nunn has a bad game nowadays, it's still not as bad than when Tyler Hero has a bad game. Kendrick Nunn having a bad game is just maybe slightly below average now because he's impacting the game in other ways. He's still able to be efficient and fit himself into the offense. So I love what I saw from Tyler Hero last game. I would love to see him come back into form and come back into playoff Tyler Hero. But as for right now, from what I've seen recently, I trust Kendrick Nunn more.
Couple things I think.
Greg,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No. I got something for you, but jump in with this first. Follow on this first.
The thing I just wanted to really point out is that Jason Tatum shot 3 for 15 against Chicago, and that dude is not going to have another performance like that. So, that is something I think that the Heat defense needs to really hone in on. I don't know that you could stop Tatum, but the other thing I've noticed is Kemba is the volume with which he is shooting since Jaylen Brown has gone out is crazy. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw maybe even a little bit of Jimmy over there just to shut him down.
All right, let me cycle back to you with this, Greg, before I get blown away here. If you hear the background, that's the wind. I put up there today that they need to sweep this thing. I know that you're saying they don't necessarily need to for seeding, but to me, it for a couple of reasons. One, for seeding, okay? I mean, it is the one way to essentially guarantee you're going to stay out of the play-in. Okay, but additionally, if you can't sweep this team, as beat up as they've been, okay, I mean, they have all the same excuses that the Heat have this year. The Heat played a week and a half longer, but I mean, whatever, okay? I mean, they played deep into the bubble. They've had COVID. They've had injuries. They've had players that they picked up in the offseason who haven't worked out. I mean, they've had a bunch of all the same stuff. If you can't sweep this team, what are we talking about with the Heat this year?
You're right.
I mean, if you can't, and there's no Jaylen Brown today. I mean, that's essentially like taking Bam out of the lineup for the Heat for this game, right? That's your second most important player on the team. They have to take them seriously. They have to sweep.
You're right. So there's two different conversations, and I'm glad you posed it the way you did. I just don't have any faith in the Knicks or the Hawks to get it right. So that's why I don't think you have to sweep both of these games to get in the 4-5 or even at the 6, wherever you guys, want to get out of the 7, essentially. But to your point, your larger point, if you want to make a statement and show that you're actually a contender, you're right. You got to sweep these two. There's no doubt.
Who has confidence to sweep this? Okay. I mean, who here, Greg? Did any of the three of you guys? I mean, I'm gonna say Ricky. Ricky's not here, but he's gonna counter that and say he's got confidence in a Boston sweep. Any of the three of you at the top have confidence in a sweep here?
Yes,
you do.
I feel like playoff time. It's playoff time, right? So we're gonna get playoff time, Jimmy. It's Mother's Day as well, so Mother's Day, bam! It's it's a double bonus for today. And then like with these games, we have to win them, right? Jimmy does not want to be in the play-in, so I think regardless in that next game, if other players don't play as well, I think Jimmy is going to be the one that carries us to the victory. So I feel pretty confident that we can get the sweep.
You realize if Tyler Hero just boxed out Peyton Pritchard, they wouldn't be in this situation. All right, go on, Ariel.
I'd like to point out that, well, first of all, I'm not particularly confident in either team sweeping this series. I get that the Celtics are banged up and whatnot, but it's kind of tough. We've seen this season that generally with these back-to-back games against the same team, usually one team doesn't sweep both games. It more often than not ends up in a split. That said, I agree with what Jonathan said about Jimmy Butler and playoff mode and all of that. The Heat need these games. I'm sure they don't want to end up in the play-in, and I want to add on to what you said about how much they needed to get these wins for seeding purposes. The Heat's remaining schedule is, I believe they get Philly, Milwaukee, and Detroit, right?
Yeah.
Boston, after this 2-game series, has Cleveland, Minnesota, and New York. So, again, a lot of it is going to hinge on their health, whether or not Jaylen Brown can get back into the lineup in time. But the Celtics have just an easier schedule after this 2-game series. So it's especially important for the Heat to win these 2 games. If they do so, the Celtics cannot finish with a better record than the Heat because the Heat would own the tiebreaker. And so these 2 games are super crucial. The Heat need both.
I want to see 10 field goal attempts from Jimmy and Bam in the first quarter tonight. 10. Okay, none of this waiting around stuff. I'm on board with give me the Bam points today. This is a front line that he should play well against. Give me the Bam points. Okay, this passing stuff off. It's time to stop that crap. Brady, I'll let you have the final word. Can they sweep this?
I think they can. Like the points they were making before, I think it's important for them to sweep this. The 2 matchups they have coming up with Milwaukee and Philly, I think you want to get it. But it just does feel like a split. It just does. I just think this is what we've seen from Miami. I could see them stealing, couple of those games, like against a Milwaukee team, against a Philly team. But it just feels like a Boston matchup like this is a split. And like you mentioned about, I think it comes down to Jimmy and Bam. I brought it up before, the game where Jason Tatum had that big game. He had 37 shot attempts, and the most shot attempts Butler and Bam have combined for in a game is 37. It just shows the difference in stars, and I think that's what it's going to come down to today. It's going to come down to the shot attempts for those 2 guys you mentioned with the first quarter, even getting a bunch up.
I think we're going to get them too. So go to prizepicks.com, use the code 5, F-I-V-E. I think go over on both of them today. I really think they recognize the import of this situation, and they have to take over. And it's look, without Jaylen, I do think the one advantage here is, yes, we've seen the Heat struggle against teams without their best players, but often it's been without all of their best players. At least with Tatum still in there.
Yeah, they still know who to focus on.
Right, exactly. And we've seen that Spoelstra defenses tend to be better. You can go after a Trae Young. You can go after a Tatum. You can go after, as opposed to it just can come from anywhere. I think they'll at least be focused on Tatum. You know what? If Kemba wants to take 30 shots and make 36% of them.
He took 22 last game, so he may take 30.
That's what I'm saying. God bless him. All right. Check out
Mother's Day Bam. That is a great reference, Jonathan. They're going to hate that on Twitter.
We'll throw that out there. Ricky's going to hate this entire episode, which we like. And hopefully we get that 4-5 series. This Game Day Brewing got the shirt on today. Greg, maybe you'll get actually down to a real state eventually. Thanks, Ariel. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, Brady. Appreciate the time. Well, Jonathan's in Orlando. That doesn't count. Have a good one.